Alright, so I suppose we're going to start this hot lap here. Like I said, this is the hot lap portion of the KTM versus Honda 250 4-stroke versus 300 2-stroke. And we're going to start right here. First of all, I can say this is a 4-mile loop. There's a ton of different directions I can go. So I don't know if the lines are going to be exactly the same, but let's see what I can do. I'm going to try to set an aggressive pace, but not overly aggressive pace, just enough to where it's where I can get through this thing 100% without screwing up. So let's give it a shot and see where we're at. We're at this twig here. Yeah, so time lap number 1 on the KTM. Like I said, I'm not going overly aggressive. Just enough. I messed that line up. That'll cost me some time.
And sure enough, it did. Look at the bottom right-hand corner. The CRF did pull ahead of the KTM, even though the KTM had a ton more power on that straightaway. Really interesting how one mistake can cost you.
I'll have to remember that.
But the KTM pulled right back on around. Let's see how this goes. This is going to be interesting.
I do have a previous record on this trail. I'll beat it today, but shot.
So it looks like the KTM pulled away about 2 seconds so far. And one thing I do have to mention is I ran the KTM lap first. So I ran the KTM lap, you know, as quick as I could without messing up. And then I jumped on the Honda and ran it around another 4 miles before I did another hot lap. So during my Honda hot lap, I've actually done 14 miles at this point. One thing I do have to say right from the get-go is the KTM suspension is much more forgiving. We'll get into a little bit more on the suspension differences later, but I definitely am loving the plush suspension on the KTM.
Like I said, just a consistent lap. It's fairly quick pace for me. Not the quickest in the world.
I don't know if you guys were listening to the engine there or not, but you'll notice that that section there had just this really bad, chopped up, wavy portion. And interestingly enough, the CRF takes that better if you give it more gas. The back end of the KTM seemed like it wanted to be a little bit more squirrely there, which is kind of weird. So coming through this section here, the KTM has an 8-second lead. I'm not quite sure what's going on at this point, but I think I was a little bit more conservative on the Honda up to this point here.
Hey, turtle. I don't know if y'all saw that on screen or not, there's a turtle there. Hopefully you don't get ran over. Halfway through this thing, I'm definitely a little gassed. Like I said, I'm not trying to go above. I'm trying to be consistent with what I'm capable of constantly, like energy-wise. Oh, this is gonna be tricky.
Alright, so now the KTM has put an 11-second lead on the Honda. And honestly, looking back, I think I have an idea as to why. So I was riding the Honda through the first part of this like I would ride the KTM. And you can't ride the two the same. It's weird, I can't really explain it, but you can't ride a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke exactly the same. So what's interesting is I start to realize that I'm not doing something quite right, and I start to pick up the pace by changing the way I'm riding the 4-stroke here.
I'm definitely gassed. Slowing down a little bit. Like I said, I'm trying to get through this lap without falling. Trying to be as consistent as possible.
Measuring from tree to tree in the bottom right hand corner, you could tell I have gained 2 seconds back since I mentioned I was 11 seconds behind, which is really odd how I gained it that quickly. I didn't make any mistakes.
Not like motocross super crazy fast hare scramble pace. Tricky. Wonder how the 4-stroke will do to that.
Watching in the bottom right hand corner here, 4-stroke did just fine, and it has stock tubes at 15 psi. It seems to me like 4-strokes go through mud better for whatever reason. Speaking of, the CRF is definitely catching up. It looks like I'm only about 5 seconds behind now. For some odd reason, it seems like the Honda, the 4-stroke, is easier to ride long distances. Even though the suspension is wrong and it hurts my hands a lot more, it's a lot more jarring. For some reason, the 4-stroke, I don't know, it just seems, for me, easier.
It's hard to hang on to. Not gonna lie. Every time it gets into its power band, it wants to kill you. But one thing I haven't said yet is about the suspension on this bike. Outside line here. See if that'll work better.
Oh man, it's getting close. Take a look in the bottom right hand corner. The tension is building. Is the KTM gonna get past? Is the CRF gonna win this? What is going on? So I've closed this long gap within 2 seconds now, and you know, I'm wondering at this point, if I had less power on the KTM, I mentioned earlier that it was hard to hold on to. If I had less power on the KTM, would it be easier to ride quicker? So that's something we're going to experiment in the future with. definitely fighting to stay ahead on the KTM, but I can tell you, it's looking like a losing battle. It's down to 1 second now, and we're real close. We're neck and neck, as you can see if you're looking at the bottom right-hand corner, comparing tree to tree here. And it's looking like the KTM is getting ready to get passed. As a matter of fact, it is. Let's go ahead and switch views to the CRF. Well, I gotta be honest with you, I'm really shocked with these results because I have raced this course before. This was my first hare scramble. I've raced this course before on the KTM, and looking at the footage, I can tell you that the Honda looks smoother, and I think it's winning because of the automatic rear brakes, the engine braking, the ability to set myself up for the next turn without fiddling around with brakes. I think that's what's going on, to be honest with you.
Holy cow! Lap's almost over. Wow, that got violent. I suppose it's time. Wow. First of all, I'll comment on the times on voiceover because I don't know what they are while I'm out here, but did you just see that last bit? That got violent. I almost ate it there. The suspension needs work.
Conclusion time. I have no idea what's going on. The KTM should have won, but it didn't. Let me know in the comment section if there's any variables that I missed here or what other further tests I should do. Maybe I'm just a 4-stroke guy. I have no idea. Let me know. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.